Today we're going to be installing the Spectre cold air performance intake system. So this, I bought this online actually for about $200 off AmericanMuscle.com, and as you can see, it fits the 2008 to 2010 Dodge Challenger, 5.7 liter to 6.1 liter Hemi V8 up to about 12 horsepower gain, and I assume that's about what it is with the torque too. So as you can see, it comes with a red filter and everything you need in order to fit the product in where the old intake is. So what we're going to do here is take this intake out, the stock intake, and then we're going to put that intake in. So we're going to start here first by taking this old intake out. So I'm going to get the tools necessary here. It looks like a flathead screwdriver and some sort of socket, and we'll get the toolkit and get started. So it looks like we've got two areas where we need to loosen the hold on the cold air intake with the flathead, just enough to, looks like, to rotate, and right here as well where the air box is. So we're going to loosen those bad boys up. Also looks like we need to pull that AC line right there, and that looks good. So now we're going to try to fit a socket onto here. But first I'm going to see if there's a way that we can move that one. And now this one may be a little bit more difficult just based on where it is. You might require two hands. There we go, loosen it a little bit more. Yeah, that is a two-hander. All right, so funny enough, that is a 10 millimeter size socket. So we're just gonna loosen this socket up all the way, take it out. There we go. That's out of there here to hold everything in place now. And then we are actually going to try to slide this out of place here. Put that down there. You could see the this is the thermostat sensor for the cold air intake. That may be a two-handed job here. So we're gonna try to take the actual intake off first, and then we're gonna deal with this. So the actual air box and everything is pretty easy to take off. Like, it's off right now. I just pulled that out, and all I have to do is just disconnect that hose there and this thermostat sensor here. So we'll do that next. So again, just to show you, that just slides right off. Pretty easy. Leave that off to the side. This, if we can pull this air box out here and sort of get it switched around. It's kind of a tough son of a gun here. So by looking deeper in it, you can see how this is placed in there. We may have to cut this, but I'm going to try to use two hands here and actually pull it out before having to cut the OEM air box here. And yes, that did require two hands, but essentially what I did was just, you can see there, get it at an angle like that, pull it out, and it slid right out. So now we've got the old air box here we can keep for our records. We'll set that over here. And now what we're gonna do is take this cold air intake system out of the box and take a look at what we have, and we will install it. One little side note here, we can see just how cool that block is painted orange. That is sweet. That Hemi orange block is pretty dang cool. A reference to the old Dodge products of old. So here is the instructions. I have the red filter, so I have the PN993K, And you can see what we have here. We have the intake tube, the air filter, the heat shield, 52-inch rubber seal, 90-degree reducer coupler, the breather hose, the hose clamps again, the ID grommet, offset velocity stack adapter, the hose clamp, tools required, a ratchet, a 10mm socket, or a 5/16 or 8mm nut driver. So that's it. Pretty simple. We are going to get started here on the install now. All right, so first and foremost, just to make sure we have everything right with the thermostat sensor, we're going to place this grommet into this hole here, and that will make sure everything is placed correctly together. So we're going to do that. Again, that requires 2 hands. All right, so we place that in. It was very, very simple. Next here, we're going to read the kit, and it says to place the velocity stack adapter in the heat shield and install the supplied coupler, making sure the coupler is pushed completely against the heat shield. Blah, 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 blah. So essentially, we want to take the heat shield here out and put that together. Okay, so the next step here would be to install this, the heat shield together with the rubber piping around it, and then we will install this to that side, the coupler to hold this into place with one of these couplings here, and then we're going to throw the actual air filter on. So we're going to do all that right now. All right, so we're just about to the final step here with the actual air intake installation, and you can see what I did here. I kind of went the wrong way of the directions. I decided to put the actual intake, the air filter on first, because I knew this was going to be a tough process to fit over the sleeve that went in between the heat shield and the actual air filter itself. So I decided to go ahead and put the air filter on, tighten it down, put this coupling down that goes to the aluminum piping that goes to the engine, couple that down, and then now we're just going to make some cuts here, and we're going to put the rest of the molding on the actual heat shield. So you can see we finished with the heat shield installation, and we had to make some cuts here, which is okay. And now we've got the lining around the heat shield, the actual air filter installed, and the coupling on the back here. So we're going to head over and do the final installation. We've got our air box in, and we're ready for the install. So you can see here there is a small area to hook that onto the coolant. So now we're going to try to fit all this into place. It looks like we should be able to do it here. Might have to just adjust the air box. Yup. And that's going to be close. It's going to be very close. So, again, 2 hands to do this. We will revisit shortly. This is genuinely a tight squeeze, and I can see why they want you to put the insulation on the air box. So, as you can see, we have everything pretty much sealed into place. The heat shield here, it's really not impeding on anything, which is good. We can see the filter sits into place nicely. So now we're going to basically do the final install on all the products, which isn't too much. We just have a few of these straps left and just the aluminum intake here, and that's it. Just about done. So we've got the aluminum air intake on here. Don't worry, I will latch that on when the time comes. But right now we're just going to, as you can see, that it did come with a pipe here, or the piping, but I am actually going to just use the pipe that came with the vehicle to put that into place. But right now, I am going to do it with 2 hands. After a lot of messing around here, I found out that that pipe does not work for the 6.4 liter Hemi V8 because this little inlet here where this OEM pipe goes is smaller than that inlet, which would mean that that is made for the 5.7 and not for the 6.4. So with a lot of prying and oh gosh, a lot of mess, everything had to come off. This had to come off. This coupler had to come off. So now we are in the process, hopefully, of the home stretch here. So now we just have to put the elbow on, and then we're all done. So we'll see how that goes. Also, I'm here to say these clamps are so much easier to use than these clamps. And I don't know why Spectre did that, as I already lost one of these. This little piece here falls out that the screws into. So I have that laying in the bottom of the plastic someplace in the car. So I'm going to have to go to the store and buy these easy style clamps rather than these stupid clamps here. That's a bad design. You cannot put any of these tubes on to the aluminum, or any piece for that matter, without having to take these clamps totally off. And by that, you're risking losing this little piece right there in your vehicle. So it's just a terribly poor design. They don't even look that cool, to tell you the truth. These just look better, a little bit of a cleaner design. So that's one huge fault here of the Spectre. And you could tell this was more engineered for the 5.7 liter Hemi rather than the 6.4 Hemi. So I'm hoping to get this all installed here. It's been actually a hell of a process so far. Installation has not been too easy compared to other brands of intakes. So Spectre, here's what I mean. Now I scratched up my whole entire aluminum intake, which is supposed to look awesome. And now, look, I have this on the loosest setting. There's no chance in hell that even comes close to fitting over. So I'm almost tempted to just take this off and not even mess with it and get these easy clamps here, because this is just a complete, utter disaster of an engineering job, if you ask me. But, you know, the intake will look good once it's done, and it's almost done. But, wow, what a terrible job here. This is probably one of the worst engineering jobs on a simple air intake I've seen before. So now to add insult to injury, that intake doesn't hold on there. And I just lost the grommet that you're supposed to put, you know, in there for the thermostat. I just lost that grommet, and now it rolled all the way down into the air filter. So this was clearly not designed for the 6.4 liter Hemi, and the materials used are fitting of the $400 or the $200 price range what I bought this for. I mean, honestly, this is more like $100 to $150 product. So I'm gonna finish, you know, monkeying around with whatever I have to do here, and we'll come back and revisit. Eventually, I'm going to run to the store and get some real clamps here, not these chintzy, stupid, cheap ones, and go from there. So we'll get her all finished here, then we'll start the car up and see how it sounds. All right, we've got it done. So to recap, I read through the instructions, but they were kind of backwards. So, you know, overall, it's a really good-looking unit. There are some flaws to it during installation. This has to be extremely tight in order for it to stay on the actual engine. So I'm going to be watching that. Second, this was more or less engineered for the 5.7 liter Hemi V8, I feel, and not the 6.4 liter. So we'll see how it is when I actually start it, as it seemed really almost too snug over here, and it just seems too snug kind of overall. So we're going to start it here and see what happens. Like I said earlier, I'm probably going to replace these. I don't like these style of clamps one bit. I feel like these style of clamps would have been a lot better and gave it a cleaner look, and would have solved a lot of the issues that I had installing this actually. But overall, it's a good looking air intake for $200. It looks a lot better than the stock one, and it's going to let the engine breathe. So we are going to do the final test here, and that is to start the vehicle up and hear how it sounds. We've got the moment everybody's waiting for. What does the Spectre cold air intake sound like? All right, we're going to hop in and find out. Well, I'm going to tell you it's a lot louder. Everything seems to be in place. Nothing seems to be falling out. All the hoses seem to be in place, which is good. The car definitely sounds louder, which is good. We'll see if we can hear the intake now when we rev it. Yep. Yeah, it's louder. All right, on sound, A+ to the Spectre cold air intake. It's an excellent sounding intake, I will give it that much. It was just a real hard install.